Hello everyone. Today we have Dr. Rashmi Pallissery with us. Dr. Rashmi is a pediatric oncologist, hematologist and bone marrow transplant specialist at HCG Ramaiah Cancer Center. Welcome Dr. Rashmi.
Thank you.
Dr. Rashmi, you being a pediatrician, a pediatric oncologist, I believe you would be facing these questions quite often in your clinics about how common are childhood cancers and about the hereditary linkage of these cancers.
Sure. So, fortunately, childhood cancers are actually not that common. India has this National Cancer Registry program, which has various population-based registries that tell us that about 40 to 50,000 children get diagnosed annually with cancers, and the rate varies across geographical areas. In some parts, it's about 38 in a million children. In some parts, it's as high as 120 in a million children. The sheer number as such is much higher than the West, where in US about 15,000 children get diagnosed annually, but our population is also higher. But compared to adults, it's much lower. Majority of childhood cancers are actually not hereditary. They happen due to causes that are still not been well understood. There are very few of them that can happen due to certain genetic disorders that children have, like Down syndrome, where you have a predisposition to getting leukemias.
So, having said so, what are the symptoms the parent should look towards in case they want to identify? Because we all understand that identifying it just by symptoms is not that easy.
It's not that easy. Yeah, very correct. So, in children, the symptoms of childhood cancer varies. It depends on what type of cancer you have. So, for example, if you have a blood-based cancer, your cells in the blood are low. So, you can have pallor, which is looking pale. You can have increased bleeding. They can have fever, weight loss. A rapid weight loss, because children are supposed to gain weight as they grow older. So, somebody whose weight is not gaining properly, or there is a weight loss, is actually a very serious symptom that should not be disregarded. Then if you have tumors in organs that are based inside the stomach, you can present with like swelling of the abdomen. Sometimes if there are cancers arising from the bone or muscle, it can happen as swellings in the arms or legs. Another common cancer in childhood is brain tumors. Brain tumors typically present as, if they are very small children, the head itself can enlarge. Otherwise, it presents as headache, changes in their behavior, changes in mental status, early morning vomiting. Sometimes cancers that arise close to spine can actually present as back pain. Some of the symptoms that you rarely see in childhood, and you should very be careful of to rule out that if it's a malignancy, is headache in small children and back pain. Very unusual symptoms in childhood. So if they have it, they should be looked upon more carefully.
So, what are the treatment options which we have in hand today to battle
childhood cancer?
Childhood cancer?
So childhood cancer is still treated very traditionally, like how we have treated over the last 20 years. Not a whole lot of changes have come. We have now chemotherapy combinations that give us very good results, but the basic 3 stages of childhood cancer are still chemotherapy, radiation and surgery. There are a lot of advances coming up in terms of targeted therapy, immunotherapy, where you target the cancer specifically and has higher results and less side effects. There are a few of these immunotherapies that are being developed for childhood cancer, specifically in the field of leukemias, but a lot of these other antibody-based therapies are not usually there for childhood cancer. It's still very much chemotherapy and radiation-based. Of course, bone marrow transplant is very much a part of different types of childhood cancer, which has newer and newer techniques that are being developed in terms of transplant to decrease the toxicity and increase survival.
So you being one of the specialists in bone marrow transplant, can you throw some light on bone marrow transplant,
Sure.
especially in pediatric population?
In pediatric population. So to talk about bone marrow transplant, we have to realize that there are 2 types of transplant. There is something called an allo transplant, where you actually get bone marrow or stem cells from a different person, and then there is auto transplant, where you actually get it from yourself. So auto transplant is used in certain type of solid tumors like neuroblastoma, certain type of sarcomas in children, where you have to give very high dose chemotherapy, which will obliterate their bone marrow. So you collect their bone marrow beforehand, you freeze that bone marrow, give them the chemotherapy and give them back the stem cells. Then there is allo transplant, which is being used for leukemia like malignancies, where the primary problem is in the bone marrow. So you give them chemotherapy, remove that bone marrow, give them back healthy bone marrow from a matched or half matched donor. So in terms of half match donor, previously it was unheard of. We always had to have a full match.
Yeah.
Now we are having very good success rate, almost equal success rate with half matched or haplotransplants as well.
Yeah, that's very hopeful. So I believe this might be one of the very common questions you would be facing in your clinics about long-term effects or adverse effects or the quality of life
Yeah.
of kids who successfully
Yeah,
battle up.
true. And see, this survivorship or what happens to patients who survive cancer is very important in children, because majority of the children get cured after cancer. The cure rates are as high as 85% with childhood cancers. So survivorship is a specialty in itself in childhood cancer. Majority of the time, long-term sequelae are minimal and very manageable if they are understood ahead of time. And it really depends on the type of cancer. For example, you have had brain tumor, you've had surgery to the brain, you've had radiation to the brain. Obviously, you are going to think of some sort of neurological long-term problems in terms of education, in terms of vision, hearing and all that. Whereas in certain types of solid tumors, or sometimes after transplant where you give a lot of high-dose chemotherapy, you think in terms of like fertility effects and things like that. Very rarely, especially if the children have been a little bit older in the puberty age group when they received chemotherapy, their risk of developing infertility later on can be an issue. Then in terms of other side effects like radiation related side effects, if you get radiation to the neck, thyroid problems can be there, growth hormone problems can be there, sometimes weakness to the bone can be there, a lot of steroids have been there as a part of your therapy. So like I said, survivorship is actually a specialty in itself. It starts right after the child has been cured of therapy. For the first 5 years, we closely watch them also for disease coming back, but after that, until the end of their life, they ideally should stay in follow-up, because long-term side effects are still being understood, because the survival rates are increasing and we are having more and more older survivors. So like I said, they should stay in a survivorship program throughout the rest of their life.
That's wonderful. So I'm very sure that audience who are listening to us, the parents who are listening to us will definitely get benefited from the information.
Definitely, yeah.
Thank you so very much for the information.
Happy to help.
Guys, if you have any further question, comments or queries, don't forget to write in the comment box below. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.